or too much traveling at night.
Oh, what's it?
The audit.
It's effort, it's not like driving a car.
Keeping me busy, man.
Call to order. Let's pledge the day is October 25th, 2023. Workshop commission meeting, and let's pledge our allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America, and to the which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and just for all. Roll call.
Commissioner Jacobs? Acting Clerk Commissioner Kasham?
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins?
Here.
Vice Mayor Morset?
Here.
And Mayor Mohammed is running late. We have quorum.
All right. Deletions or withdrawals from the agenda?
Yes. $15.3.
15 point. That's the old vendor ordinance. What you want to do with that?
15.3 removed from the agenda.
Well, Mayor Mohammed put it there, so I don't think.
Yeah, this is an item, Mayor and Commission, that the interim town attorney's office was directed to draft at our last meeting. We've presented it for your consideration as directed by the commission. Again, I will confess, I don't know what the commission's historic protocol is with regards to individual members pulling items requested by the commission. There's no action on the item this evening, so I would defer to a majority of the commission as to whether you want to keep it on the agenda or remove it at one member's request.
All right, we'll vote about it. Anybody want to?
The state already has regulations concerning this. The county has regulations concerning food trucks, don't they? Why do we need our separate?
If I'm, again, and again,
Mayor put it there.
the item was asked for by the commission. We directed the item at the commission's request. There is a number of preemptions under state law. The town is very limited in what it can regulate when it comes to food trucks and mobile food dispensing operations. The ordinance that we prepared is consistent with those statutory requirements. It's entirely up to this commission as to whether you want to consider the item tonight and move forward.
All right, so this ordinance here is consistent with the county and the state.
Yes, it is.
All right.
And you may just hold off and wait until that item comes up. If you want to consider it at that time or pull it at that time, it's entirely up to the commission.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree and state that it says right here in the ordinance that all interested parties have been notified as having relations with the only legal licensed food truck here in the town. I can say that we've never been notified about this, but it says right there in the first sentence of the ordinance. It has been, hold on, let me show you. Shut up. Let's see, come up yet.
Commissioner, are you referring to the whereas clause?
Yep.
The following proper notice to the public?
Yep.
And just for the record, that's boilerplate language we include in all ordinances that ensure compliance with the state publication requirements for all ordinances.
And it says, whereas following proper notice to public after having received input from participation by interested members of public and staff, the town commission finds this ordinance and updating the town's code to establish certain regulations for mobile food dispensing vehicles comply with section 509-102 is in the best interest of the citizens, residents, and businesses. Again, interested parties were not notified and input has not been put in by those yet. And I've only seen 2 other cities' resolutions that were provided to me by the town attorney. It needs to be looked at from other towns more than just 2.
Again, I would just defer to the vice mayor and to the commission. The item is within the control of the commission. It is entirely within your discretion as to want to consider it this evening. Consider it at your regular meeting on November 15th. The item was prepared at the commission's direction. And it's not my job to promote the item, but I would defer to the majority of the commission as to whether you want to consider it.
Okay.
I have a question, Town Attorney. Mr. Jacobs owns a food truck, which he would be under those guidelines, whatever they were or are, by state or us, if we should pass them. Does that qualify him to actually remove something?
That fact
Isn't that a conflict?
that fact in and of itself would not create a conflict. And keep in mind, there's no action being taken on this item tonight.
I
So
understand.
workshops.
Well, the action would be to whether to keep that.
The question would be whether to consider the item for discussion purposes tonight and potentially move it forward for first reading on November 15th. The fact that one particular member of this commission may have a vested interest in that item would not create a conflict in the context of that discussion this evening.
Okay, well, let's move to table this till so we can have further discussion.
Okay, we'll table it.
We'll consider that item pulled.
All right, we'll pull that, and then we have presentations. 5.1, that will be Florida Department of Transportation. There's a switch on top of the microphone. Oh, it sounds like.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for your time this evening, Commission. My name is Leslie Wetherell. I'm with the Florida Department of Transportation. Thank you for having us here this evening. We do have a short presentation for you this evening. Okay. Can everyone see? Are we
Yes.
good? Okay. So the reason I'm here this evening is to share some updated information with you regarding our PD&E, or our Project Development and Environment Study for I-95 from the Broward County, Miami-Dade County line up to north of Hollywood Boulevard. So the bulk of the work includes we're studying the 3 interchanges there within those limits. And Susie, I'm probably going to need your help scrolling through the PDF since it's not a PowerPoint, if that's okay with you. So the second slide there shows in a little bit more detail the location in question. And my apologies, are you guys okay if I turn a little bit to kind of look at the screen? Okay.
Fine.
Okay, so again, we're from the county line to north of Hollywood, and that encompasses the 3 interchanges of Hallandale Beach Boulevard, Pembroke Road, and Hollywood Boulevard. And you can see here we span the 4 municipalities, including, oh, thank you, Susie. The 4 municipalities, the 3 municipalities in the county within the footprint of those limits. Next slide, please. Keep going. Next slide. Okay, so this slide talks a little bit about the scope of the project. Again, it's a PD&E, or a Project Development and Environment Study, and we're looking to evaluate the interchange improvements to improve operations and safety along the corridor. Looking at ramp terminal intersection improvements, as you see noted there, as well as socioeconomic, physical, environmental impacts to ensure compliance with NEPA, the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, that we're required to abide by federal highway, since we are receiving federal funding for this project. And so, next slide, please. Thank you. So on this slide, we just kind of touch on the various things that we're looking at that relate to the purpose and the need of the study. So traffic, obviously, is a concern. Safety is the department's #1 concern. And looking at the operations and capacity of the actual interchanges, as well as emergency evacuation, as you can see. Next slide, please. Okay, so previously, we had come to you all with a preferred alternative, and there were some concerns from you all that you all asked us to address. And now we're back here today to show you how we have addressed your concerns. So what you see on the slide here is what we previously came to you with, okay? The top part where it has the red shows the existing conditions of I-95 today, and on the bottom shows you what we had previously proposed to you. And the reason I wanted to show you this slide is to give you context your message and have reassessed. Next slide, please. Okay. This slide is really the crux of what the concern that the town had previously. Here at, let me see, is there a pointer on this one? No. Okay. So I'm going to walk over if that's okay. Oh, take the mic. Thank you.
Yeah.
But two of the commissioners were not commissioners at that time when you did the presentation, but I was in the audience, so I think I remember it.
Okay, good. So this slide, this is Hallandale Beach Boulevard, and north is here to my right. This location here previously, what we brought to you was we need to handle the drainage on the interstate with the improvements. And so we were previously proposing a pond at this location. And the town had a concern for us that this is a concern because obviously it's a large part of your ad valorem tax base. And so the challenge you gave to us was go back, try to figure out a different solution, help us maintain our ad valorem tax base, and let's be good partners. Next slide, please. So we've been talking for the past 2 years with staff about how to meet your needs and how to meet our needs as well as the traveling public. We recently, as you can see there, about a month ago, had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Ghani and his staff, and he asked us to come today to show you all what we've come up with. Next slide, please. Just to show everybody, this was the resolution that you all had previously passed, asking us to reassess. Next slide, please. Okay, so this slide shows what we've reassessed. Again, the top is the existing conditions, and the bottom is what we are proposing as changes. The biggest thing I wanted to point out here is northbound, even though it wasn't really a concern that you guys brought to our attention, previously this blue line was continuous. And we have broken it apart so that local traffic can get to both facilities using the interstate, essentially, okay? That's the big thing I wanted to point out here. These green ones here, we were also able to accommodate little slip ramps to get off and Hollywood to be able to get on and over. The blue, again, is what remains from previous to this to what we're showing you now. Next slide, please. But this is the really important slide we want to show you. This is the slide that shows you that we've reassessed our drainage needs and we've been able to figure out another solution along the corridor that negates the need for us to acquire right-of-way or acquire most of the right-of-way at the locations we previously had shown you. I do want to point out to you that there is a very, very minor right-of-way take here. You can see here proposed right-of-way line 2 feet from the existing building. There is a very, very tiny linear sliver that we do have to take in order to be able to get the footprint for all the lanes we need for the operation of the, of the interchange. But we were able to eliminate the pond site being at that location, thus maintaining your ad valorem property tax base there. Next slide, please. And this is just a close-up of the same area in question. Again, a small sliver of right-of-way, and you can see the buildings are not touched. Okay. Now, can you move up just a tiny bit there, Susie? Thanks. Okay. In addition to us coming to you tonight and showing you the revised plans and ultimately asking for your support of the project, we also want to ask you to consider adopting an eminent domain ordinance. Excuse me. And what it does, as you can see here, it establishes a formal and orderly process and allows for a proper and sound evaluation of impacts and nonconformities caused by partial acquisitions, right? Sometimes when we acquire that tiny sliver of property, a setback requirement that the town has for a building, like for a landscape buffer or something like that, may no longer be in compliance. And this eminent domain ordinance provides, excuse me, it provides, the goal is to limit the impacts to the greatest extent possible to both the land and business owners so that we can promote their continued business operating at that location, thus maintaining your ad valorem property tax base. So it's really a win-win-win, not just a win-win. You know, the department supporting the public's need for the transportation improvements can acquire the property tax base or the property in question, the 2-foot sliver. The property owner, by this eminent domain ordinance being passed, the property owner gets assurances that what is being acquired will be done in accordance with the Fair Uniform Act, and that the town will support a waiver to any setback requirements that may be necessary, and the town is able to maintain that ad valorem tax base that we know is critical. Next page, please. We just wanted to let you know that there were some minor tweaks to the Pembroke Road as well as to Hollywood on the north end. The big thing I wanted to point out in this slide is many of you all are familiar with the pump station on the west side of I-95 and the importance that that pump station has not only for I-95 but for the town and the businesses right along that area. We are going to maintain that pump station in that location. It will not be touched or moved as a result of any of our construction. We understand the importance of that to you all and to us and to the public. Excuse me. Next slide, please. So, bottom line, we're here today to ask you all for your support for the project, hoping we've addressed your concerns and your needs, and we're also seeking for you to support an eminent domain ordinance. I have provided samples from other municipalities over the years that we've partnered with to Mr. Ghani, and perhaps I can request that he work with the town attorney to refine that ordinance and bring it back to the town. But we want to get your general consensus on that approach moving forward because we recognize it'll require another resolution or ordinance to support that. But we have provided lots of detail to Mr. Ghani on that.
So where is the ponding now?
So what we've done is we've done a number of smaller pond areas on the east side. So on the Hallandale and the Hollywood side, we have some locations there. And we're also looking into some partnerships with some of the other municipalities along the corridor where they're already maintaining drainage, and perhaps we can tap into additional drainage at those locations. Great question. Thank you.
That sounds like a long process.
Yeah.
So PD&E is approximately a 2 to 3 year process, and then we'll start the design, and that tends to be a 2 to 3 year process as well. We are currently not funded for right-of-way and construction, so by getting you all support on this project today will go a long way with us continuing to make a case to get the additional phases funded. And one more thing on the future phasing of the right-of-way and construction, our plan is to segment the project into manageable bites, right? Not do it all at once. Excuse me.
Well, you don't want a road going to nowhere.
So the plan is to segment it into manageable bites, impact the traveling public as little as possible. We know that there's a lot of construction out there right now, and there's a lot of construction fatigue. So we want to let what we've built out there now kind of settle down a little bit before we come back and do some more construction in the future.
Yeah, it seems like you have addressed all our concerns. What do you think, Aline?
Yeah, actually, some of the concerns that originally, I looked at some of the major concerns originally and the comments. I think the biggest impact is actually the setback. Instead of taking a large amount, they actually reduce it to 2 feet, actually, and that 2 foot will trigger certain planning requirements and waivers that we will have to bring back to the commission for approval. But the general impact on this, the taking that they are proposing, and also the drainage, actually splitting up the drainage system or the drainage pond into different areas, and rather than having just one large pond, sort of reduce the major impact at one location. So with those two things, I think some of the needs or the concerns that was expressed has been addressed.
Yeah, it is for the greater good that we get traffic flowing.
Yeah.
The commission can take direction. This is just a workshop, so you'll have to wait 2 weeks for the next commission meeting.
Okay.
So put this on as a line item for the next commission meeting.
Great. Any other questions I can help answer to ensure a favorable resolution at the commission meeting?
Well, I think it looks good, but that's my opinion.
If I may, is there an interest among the commission for our office to work with Mr. Ghani and FDOT to prepare an eminent domain ordinance as recommended?
Yes.
If that's the direction, we'll take that as consensus. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I thought that's very informative. It's fun for me that wasn't elected at a time where there were the objections, and now see your changes, I believe.
Very good. We appreciate your time this evening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie.
And just to be clear, the only reason there's positive changes because 3 cities all stepped together and took complaint against the original design.
Right. We've heard the message, and I believe we've partnered with all 3 municipalities to hopefully achieve consensus and to address your concerns. And again, thank you for your feedback. It's a very important part of the process.
Thank you. Reports 6.1, Chief Kane.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor, Commission, and staff. Michael Kane, Battalion Chief, Broward Sheriff Fire Rescue, here to give you the statistics for the month of September 2003 in the town of Pembroke Park. For the month of September, we responded to 143 calls for service. The breakdown is vehicle accidents were 24, structure fires were 11, fire alarms were 7, medical calls for service were 99, and service calls were 2. And that brings us to a total of 143, which is consistent with previous months. That ends my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Any questions from audience? Nope. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Thank you, Kane. Thank you. 7, Building Department, Interim Building Official, Pizzillo.
He has texted me and let me know he's running a little late. If we can come back to that, he's on his
We'll
way.
move that to when he comes back, all right? Code compliance, Ramirez.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Town Commission, Chief Code Compliance Officer Jocelyn Ramirez for the Town of Pembroke Park. For the month of September, we had 2 order of abatements, 10 affidavit of compliance, 26 affidavit of non-compliance, 2 amended final orders, 1 courtesy notice, 4 final orders, 30 notice of formal hearing, 14 notice of violation, and 8 supplemental order claim of liens. As always, the residents and the business owners are showing voluntary compliance. So as far as, the building department, the business tax receipt, assist, we are always moving forward. Any questions for me?
Any questions? No. Nope. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Finance Department, Director DiLena.
Hi, good evening, and thank you. Just wanted to give you an update. Staff, along with Aleem and the auditors, we get on a phone call about once every 2 weeks, letting everyone talk and find out where we're at, what's missing, what is left to get done as far as the 2022 audit. And, we're moving the ball down the field. Some of the major things are ARPA funds, right? And how much have we spent on it? And so, we got the auditors that information that they need. A lot of the things that we're getting the auditors is base level stuff. So now typically what the auditors will do is they'll take some samples of the data that we sent them, right, and do their auditing procedures. So, we've provided them cash, accounts receivable, billing, fixed assets, long-term debts, accrued payroll. If you just think about what the balance sheet looks like, we went down the line. And we have a few more audit entries, obviously, to make. in order to get the books, what I like to call calibrated, right? You know, a lot of instruments, you know, obviously need to be calibrated to make sure that they're reading properly. And that's kind of what an audit is as well. You know, we present numbers and the auditors attest to the fact as to whether within a materiality, whether or not that is a good number. And so we're making headway. We're touching base with JLAG every week. We're letting JLAG know via an email letter as far as what we are doing. Now, both staff and the auditors feel like we're probably about 3 weeks behind our goal, but that doesn't stop Mr. Aleem from pushing. He is pushing, and staff and we feel it, and that's a good thing because like any good coach, right, you know, you have to push your team. And so we're still dedicated to doing that. We can do things a lot concurrently as well. You know, we can start writing the notes to the financial statements, right? We can start writing the MD&A pretty much, you know. So we can move the ball down the field. Things don't necessarily have to be done in exactly the same order, but they all have to be done. And they have to be done to complete our external auditors bar, okay? And so because obviously it's their license and their liability and what have you. But it is an important step. Matter of fact, it's an important step with your recent Synovus bank loan. I've been contacted by Synovus, hey, where's our audited financial statements? It's part of the compliance, right? We can hold them off. We have a relationship with the bank, letting them know that staff is moving forward. When we do get it done, obviously they will get it and they want it every year. And so not only the state of Florida, but, you know, other major vendors want this valuable information. And so, you know, we're moving that forward. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any questions?
We don't obviously have a timeline.
You know, the state of Florida, JLAG and Aleem, they set the
Set the time.
November 17th. I mean, Aleem didn't, but Aleem wants to. He wants to meet that. And again, we're on the call. We're on the phone. Myself, Aleem, and the auditors. We're all three of us and staff. We're on the call, figuring out what's left, where we're at, what do we need. And again, it is a sense of urgency on my end, Aleem, the state of Florida, banks, things like that. So, and we all feel it, and we do. But you know, you have to go through the process of creating auditable work papers
Sure,
that
it's all
show a
checks.
flow.
It's all checks and balances. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we understand that.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Well,
And just, just to add to what David said, we did get 2 notices from the state, from JLAC, and we are actually responding. We sent 2 response out already, giving them, where we at and where we at in the process. So if David would like to touch on the.
Yeah, and that was part of the agreement as well. We communicate to them in the letter. Number one, we thank them for their patience and their understanding. And number 2, we let them know where on the balance sheet we are at. Because they know audited financial statements and things like that. So when you start methodically letting it down, everyone gets a little bit easy, feels a little bit easier. But we let them know in that letter that we are still full court press for November 17th. We're just trying to let them know that there are 2 major things that could delay us by those 2 to 3 weeks. It depends. If we've spent more than $750,000 of the ARPA funds in that fiscal year, then that triggers what they call a single audit act. So now what happens is, for that type of expenditure, they have to do additional auditing procedures to satisfy the federal government. So that may take a little bit of time. The other thing, too, is GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. I don't want to bore anybody, but anyway, so that is an organization that sets requirements. They came out with a new standard that said, hey, you know what? For all your leases, instead of expensing it, like on an income statement, instead of just expensing the payment thereof, we want you to put it on your balance sheet, just like an asset and a liability for a lease. And so so we had to gather up all the leases. We had to look through all the leases. We had to determine what was the discount rate. We had to amortize that, and we've got to put that on the balance sheet. So those two things, and by the way, everyone in the state of Florida, well, the United States, has been dealing with that in 2022 as well. 23, what the newest thing is now they want to see your internet services that you buy for, like you buy your programs, your Adobe, your internet, any type of computerized software that you're using, Microsoft 365, anything that you have an agreement with for those types of services, now they want to put that on the balance sheet. So
They basically run all your contracts on a balance sheet.
yeah, and so I wish that GASB would consider the size of the municipality and say, those that are under $100 million are exempt from these, and those that are above that have to comply. But unfortunately, they don't. And so, at the end of the day, these are things that are not a normal course of business. And so these are two challenges that, when we were discussing it with the auditors, said, hey, this could throw us this could add a couple of weeks, because, the auditors have to review the lease agreements. The auditors have to look at the calculation that staff did to amortize a lease payment, put the asset on the asset side, put the liability on the liability side. And so all these things, supposedly to make it better for the users of the financial statements, but I don't see that happening. But
Well, any questions? Any further questions?
and we'll continue to give you an update. As I said, every week and every 2 weeks, we are sending JLAG, and we are on the call with the auditors. So if you have any questions, please feel free to, at any time you ever see me, let me know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. IT Department, Director Pakula.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mark Pakula, IT Department. Item 10.1, that is GIS maintenance for this upcoming year for our GIS department and our GIS web pages. That's something we spread across the whole town for updates and things of that nature for our GIS for the town. Any questions on that?
No, maybe you should, just for the audience, explain what GIS real short.
Government Informational Systems. Geological Information System, excuse me. It's what we use for the town for all of our maps and infrastructure. You can go on our website and see our districts, water stations, pumps, things like that, lift stations, traffic, boundaries, commissioner districts, things like that. And I think it's been very helpful for a lot of the infrastructure that we've been working on lately. And we're going to continue to grow that.
So I thought this was already approved. So we need
No, that was for a web page that we're working on for FEMA. That was a different item.
Okay.
This is for the general maintenance of all the GIS. That's for a specific page we're designing out. That last one we had at the last
You want to
commission.
move it to consent
Yeah, let's have a...
Move it to a line item. All commissioners aren't
or a
here.
line item?
Okay. We'll move to a line item, but I don't think that we have any no objections.
And the next item would be excuse me, item 10.2, which is, this is a budget item. This is something we planned on adding for our town for infrastructure. This is another fiber line for internet through the town for specific things we're running throughout the town. Help the police department, video camera systems, things of that nature.
How extensive is that?
It's $549 per month.
Okay.
This is budgeted. It's on the IT budget, and it's something we wanted to do last year, but we're waiting on this fiscal year to roll it out.
All right. So that will be a line item too for next meeting.
Any questions on that?
Nope.
Next item, 10.3. This is a video system that we're integrating inside our police department for our interrogation room. It's a standalone system. The cost you see there is spread out for 5 years.
This one here.
This includes all the hardware, the software, the licensing, and the cloud storage.
Well,
On this item, just very quickly, Mayor and Commission, the agreement in your backup, we are in the process of reviewing. I noticed there's a number of statutory requirements that are missing from that document. We're going to be preparing our standard terms and conditions addendum to go along with that item that you'll see when you consider the item formally on the 15th.
all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Planning consultant, Michael Vonder-Meulen. No, he's not there.
He just got there.
He just arrived, sir.
In the back.
Excuse me, but, oh, there you are. Okay.
Would be number 7.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's my first
I
time.
apologize for being tardy. Steve Pizzillo, your interim building official through the city manager. Last month, our inspections were double the month prior to that, mainly due to some of the bigger projects in their final phases and closing out. The Seneca buildings are substantially complete. They're just finalizing paperwork for their CCs. The interiors are remodels are already starting to take it from the white building to what what they're going to be using it for. The car wash and Wawa are getting ready to open any day. The storage building, as you can see, is already going vertical pretty good. And if you have any other questions, this is what's going on.
Will they start operating before they finish the other buildings? Wawa? Can they start operating?
Yeah, they've got their own entrances.
Okay,
They can be separated from the other two.
all right. Well, thank you very much. Any
Yeah, I
questions?
believe, actually, we had a meeting with them, Vice Mayor. They came in and they had a meeting with us. They're still shooting for November 30th as their grand opening. So hopefully they get all their final approvals and for their opening on November 30th.
If I remember correctly, there was also like a little medical building.
It's a hospital.
That hasn't
The
started
That
yet.
didn't happen?
That hasn't started yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but from what Wawa, the information they gave me when they met with me was they pushed back actually 1 week in their opening because of some of the delays that they had with their supplies. So they're still shooting, with that 1 week by the end of November to open up officially.
All right. Well, thank you. All right, so that was this one here. $11.1.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is a somewhat unique request. So this is one of the applications that has previously gone to the Planning and Zoning Board, and thought we'd bring it to a workshop for discussion prior to the public hearings later on. This is essentially a request for temporary uses on a piece of property. This is one of the properties, if you're familiar with it, it is the vacant property that is on Southwest 30th Avenue. So if you're coming off the exit there on I-95, you see the fairly large vacant property just before you get to Hellendale Beach Boulevard. That is the parcel we are talking about.
Okay.
It was realized while they were going through the process that all the facilities are not yet available along Southwest 30th. In particular, the sanitary sewer is currently being discussed and in design, but it has yet to be essentially brought in for design, permitting, and construction. So therefore, there'll be a lag in time before anything fairly substantial can be built under that new MXUE ordinance. So the applicant has come in and requested 3 particular uses you can see in their letter. there would be some on-street parking, retail showroom, and the storage for the retail showroom, and then parking uses on the property. The applicant is requesting up to 9 years to have these temporary uses on the property. This was presented to the Planning and Zoning Board, and they did recommend approval. However, based on some additional discussions with staff, it felt like 9 years may be a fairly long time. So, we probably would like to break that up into increments, 5 years, and then if progress has not been made in the sewer installation, then an additional 2 years, and additional 2 years after that. The applicant is here to answer any questions you may have.
Right.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening, Honorable Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Rachel Streitfeild. Law offices at 7293 North Miami Avenue. Northwest 2nd Avenue, just a block over. I represent the BH Group. We're the owner of 2550 Southwest 30th Avenue. Your planning director gave you the basic gist of what we're asking for. Essentially, the town has zoned our property mixed-use entertainment. We would love to be able to build a beautiful mixed-use building on this parcel, but because, as your planner articulated, there is no sanitary sewer currently serving that property, and we cannot build a mixed-use building until there is access to a public sewer system. So right now, the property is totally valueless. And so we're coming to you for approval at hopefully the next meeting for a temporary use to do on-street parking storage, as well as some like a retail showroom and additional storage uses. And the reason is because we can't really do anything else on that property until the sewer line supports the property. We've asked for 9 years because based on our experience, we know that it takes quite a bit of time, not just to allocate funding, identify funding, apply for Resilient Florida grant funding if you were to go that direction, but going forward to actually design, permit, and construct the sewer line could take much longer than 2 years, 3 years, and that's if the town decides to commit to this project. It would take a consistent commitment from this body and any subsequent body to continue moving the ball forward with that sanitary sewer extension. And so that's why we've asked for 9 years. I'm happy to answer any questions. And otherwise, if you don't have any, we would look forward to seeing you at the next commission meeting.
So you stated showroom. Are you building a car dealership?
No.
What kind of showroom are you planning on putting in?
Commissioner Jacobs, the reason that we have 3 proposed uses outlined in our letter of request is to maintain flexibility. We don't currently have a plan as to what we want to do with the site, but we're asking the town at this time for flexibility to deviate from the mixed-use entertainment district uses.
Okay, and you saw the proposal from FDOT earlier that and breaches upon that property as well, right?
There's actually not a taking proposed by FDOT in the PD&E presentation that we just saw, but we will be following up with FDOT to better understand what their plans are.
Director Ghani, what's your take on that?
Yeah, actually, that was one of the properties. I actually mentioned that to DOT in the meeting that we had to make sure that these 2 properties that is in question, that they look at those carefully as well. So that was brought up in our meeting with DOT, and we are going to get a feedback at my next meeting with DOT on that. But that came up.
What about the 9 years they're asking for?
The 9 years is actually, this is one of the few areas that is still on septic tanks along that I-95 corridor. We got a proposal from one of our CCNA consultants for approximately $400,000 to do a design. Presently, we don't have it budgeted to do that design. We were applying for grants to get that area off of septic to have a design sanitary system solely for that area, the business district. As it is right now, it is not funded, and we don't have funding available. We are applying for grants to remove that area from septic onto a sanitary system.
Furthermore, we're still waiting on a master plan to be completed for our sewer system.
That's
When's
part
the
of it.
anticipated date on that?
That's another, the models are presently, we had an update actually this week on that, and they're running the model, the sanitary sewer models, within the next 2 months. So we should get something within the next 3 months, tentatively.
So far throughout this meeting, I feel like the commission's being left out. This is a commission form of government and not a mayor form of government. The commission needs to be updated throughout the process of everything that's going on within the town. The previous town manager, we had submitting a weekly report at the end of the week to the commission. You can use that as a template, but I think that's important that you complete one of those and send it to all 4 or 5 commissioners so we're aware of what's going on besides just one commissioner knowing. All 5 commissioners need to know what's going on in the town so we could keep up to date.
I think that's a reasonable request also.
Noted.
Is this connected to that project between the I-95 and the railroads, the mixed commercial use?
That's the area we're talking about.
That's the lot in question,
Will that be
yes.
affected by the same sewer lines and so forth?
Well, that's the area that we're planning to do the design, yes. That is on
So
septic.
that covers the whole project?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, not only these 2 properties, but all the businesses along that corridor,
Okay.
from Hollandale Beach Boulevard all the way to Pembroke Road.
So what do you recommend, 5 or 9 years?
Well, my feeling is let's
Start with 5
let's
years.
start with 5 years, and depends on the funding. If funding becomes available, I'm looking at a 2-year period to get it designed and 2 year for construction. So hopefully 5 years will give us, some sort of timeline. And if we don't run or we go beyond that, then there's a 2-year extension. That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So if I may just briefly, the reason that we're asking for the 9 years and not the 5 years with the 2 years extension is because infrastructure notoriously takes much longer than planned. In my own city in North Bay Village, we had a wastewater lift station that was designed and permitted, but it took 2 years longer than anticipated and the cost doubled. So you might just want to manage your expectations respectfully. I know that town manager understands that as well. But my client is hoping to avoid a scenario where we're at the 5-year mark and he has to spend more money on a zoning attorney and others to come back and make the extension request, as well as to have to monitor the situation. So that's simply our request, and we can again discuss it at the next meeting, but I just wanted to make sure our position was on the record.
All right. Thank you.
And if I may also just add, because this could be a potential amendment to the MXD, we just want to review the code to confirm whether an ordinance is required for this particular action. If there is, we will prepare one for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Put this as a line item.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your time.
Police Department. Chief Donovan, please.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Wednesday evening to the Honorable Vice Mayor, Commission, town employees, and guests. Thank you for allowing me to stand up as your Chief of Police. My name is Rashana Dabney Donovan. First and foremost, I would like to thank my police personnel who continue to work diligently to reduce crime and provide great service for our community. It is my honor to work with them. For the month of September, the police department focused on community issues such as noise complaints, illegal dumping, trespassing, unusual activity, and homelessness. Currently, we have 6 extra watch requests in which officers ensure they either drive by or conduct a park and walk specified for locations during their shifts, time and incidents permitting. With that being said, here are our stats. We had a total of 405 calls for service, which was a 4% increase from the month of August. There has been a 21% increase in alarm calls, 44% increase in traffic stops, and a 1% increase in all other calls. Fortunately, there has been a 13% reduction in traffic crashes, 17% reduction in arrests and burglaries, and a 9% reduction in total citations. Currently, our second CSA, Artavia Jenkins, has completed her community service aid course. For 3 weeks, she attended the Broward School of Public Safety and became knowledgeable with state laws and is now in her second week of field training. Officer Daniel Ramirez is currently in his 3rd week of field training, and we currently have 2 police candidates who have successfully completed their background process. I'm finishing up their background summaries and will meet with Acting Town Manager Ghani for review. That completes my statistical report for the month of September. Do you all have any questions?
Nice to see we're moving forward. Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions?
No, thank you.
Well,
If
thank
I
you.
may ask one question.
Yes.
I've run into 2 situations personally where people have arrived here at the town hall after hours. And so I wanted to see if we can put up a sign on the door that directs them to call our non-emergency number if they come after hours and they're looking for a police officer. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Well, Director Ghani, Climate Action Plan 13.1.
Thank you. This item is actually pledging the endorsement of the Climate Action Plan with the Tri-County Initiative for Climate Change. Basically, what it is actually it's a simple and clear order of the aid implementation, and this plan centers among 2 overarching goals. One is to mitigate the effects of climate change by reducing greenhouse gases by 2% per year, ultimately leading to an 80% reduction by 2050, which is one of the climate action goals. The second is actually increasing the resiliency of our community and all the effects that takes place with our climate change initiative. This initiative actually would, most of the counties in Broward County is adopting this pledge, so we can move this this climate action plan.
In the climate plan, is there any specifics how they get households on board with this?
Yeah, there are several initiatives. Actually, I can share it with you that the county is actually pushing out. There's a series of policies and objectives that they have laid out in the booklet, starting with greenhouse gases, sustainability, groundwater saltwater intrusion, a series of steps that they are adopting. So I could actually share the plan with you guys, with the commission,
Yes, please.
and I will send it out.
Thank you. We all get a copy of that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor, if I may also just add, to the extent the commission would like to move forward with this item, there is a form resolution included in the backup. We will reformat that resolution consistent with the town's form to be presented at your next meeting.
Thank you. 13.2, Interim Town Manager Contract and discussion on hiring procedure.
Actually, the interim town manager and hiring procedure, this item is on the agenda for discussion because at the last commission meeting, I was asked to outline the steps taken. And actually, if you look at the report, it's one of the first things that actually took place was the posting of the position. Well, we contacted FCCME. The list of candidates was supplied to the commission. An interview was done. And at the commission meeting, I was directed, this is the only time that I was directed as the acting town manager to step in and to come up with an approved contract, or to come up with a contract. And at that meeting, I was given a not to exceed amount to be included in the contract. As part of our process, or the town's process, a background check had to be done. That background check took a longer than expected period. It actually took 9.5 days before we got anything back.
That's unusual.
Yes. So with that, the attorney and I had several meetings with the candidate. We did come up with, actually we worked up to yesterday on finalizing some of the items in the contract. And everything was shared with the commission prior to this meeting, and everything is attached.
Right.
I just want to make note, hold on here. There are a couple things that were a little concerning that were pulled out of his contract. Apparently, the car allowance was reduced from $500 to $250. His FRS was removed completely out of the agreement. And there was a third item here. Hold on, I got to find my notes.
Commissioner, just very quickly, if I may, if you're
Yeah, go
looking
ahead.
at the agreement in the backup, that is not the latest version of the document. There was an updated version that was circulated to the mayor commission earlier.
Earlier,
this
yeah.
afternoon.
I got one this afternoon. Is that one's different from the other?
The one this afternoon, again, the last version had a 10% contribution to
Contribution.
FRS.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I may. There's the backup was also given to them hard copy.
Correct.
They have in your packet.
So this is the new one here?
That's correct. That's the latest one that both the town attorney and myself, as of yesterday afternoon at 5:30, we were still finalizing some of that items on that agreement.
Oh, severance protections, were those removed out or were they in there?
No, actually severance protection, they were back in because a 1 year severance protection per Florida statutes is we have a maximum of 20 weeks. So we reduced it to, since tentatively I was told for a 6-month period, so I reduced it to actually 5 weeks. And this is also in communication with Mr. Bell, which he agreed to.
So if that's by statute, town attorney, a reduction for 6 months, would that, it's not a statute thing for FRS? What is it?
Well, it's not FRS.
Not
for
FRS.
Severance. The only
Severance, yeah.
the statutory limitation.
I'm sorry, not
yeah,
FRS.
Yeah.
A public employer cannot offer an employee more than 20 weeks severance
Correct.
as a matter of law. So you're not required to offer anything, but you cannot offer more than 20 weeks.
More than 20
So-
weeks.
So that is
What
the
does
cap.
the town currently offer in their contracts?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I can only go based on the contract for the chief of police, which was 20 weeks.
Okay, so half of that 6 months would be 10 weeks.
Correct.
So then why would you reduce it down to 5 weeks?
The position was treated as a part-time position. When I say part-time, it's a temporary position for six months. That's the only reason I reduced it.
Okay, but if the standard for the town is 20 weeks, half of that would be 10 weeks.
I did bring it up to Mr. Bell, and he was in agreement for the 5-week period.
Okay. How do we move forward with this?
So a couple observations. The agreement that was submitted to you all earlier this afternoon and should have been supplemented in the backup is the result of the negotiations between Mr. Ghani and Mr. Bell. The commission essentially has made a conditional offer to Mr. Bell and directed your manager to negotiate that contract. This contract is the outcome of that negotiation. Obviously, there's no action to be taken tonight. To the extent that the commission would like to move forward and approve an agreement with Mr. Bell, that would be on your agenda for the 15th. Ultimately, you have the discretion as to whether you want to move forward in this direction, approve this contract, engage Mr. Bell as your interim manager while you potentially go through the recruiting process to find a more permanent solution to that process. Alternatively, you're under no obligation to approve the agreement, and you can revisit the conversation amongst the 5 of you as to how you want to move forward with regards to the manager position.
Yeah, I think at this state, I would prefer that we get a permanent town manager into the process. I mean, this interim thing seems to be, I wouldn't say it's a bad idea, but right now we're functioning quite well with our interim manager or director. So I would like to see that we move towards hiring a permanent.
Well,
I gotta intervene here and step in. The town is really falling apart right now. The town has not been restaffing for almost a year. Since the beginning of the year, positions have become vacant and not been filled. So we're operating on a very short amount of staff right now. Clerk Commissioner has sat up here with me for the last 2 years trying to get staff in and get these positions filled. and you've heard me say it over and over again, we need the positions filled. Like our building department's been down to 2 people since roughly March, when they need 4 people in there, just as an example. But that's throughout the entire town. The town's completely understaffed right now. You have the public services director working as an acting town manager, which is leaving his position in a 50-50 spot. The reason for the interim was for the public works director to continue with his position, have a acting town manager in here to oversee the management portion of the town so he can oversee all the projects that we have. We lost a $1.3 million grant earlier this year because of staffing issues. That was a lot of money for the town to lose on a grant. So we have several grants pending that some, frankly, we're probably going to lose next year because they haven't been completed. They haven't been acted upon. And this is not contributed to the public works director. It's contributed to the previous public works directors that have been here that have continually failed the community. So this was to bring someone in here to do the management position while he does his position as the public services, public works, same thing. Just a word. So that was the whole point of this. We went through this whole process to bring in interim while FCCMA was, I believe we're contracted with them, right? Did they finalize a contract?
Well, if I may, with regards to FCCMA, the FCCMA has provided a number of names as it relates to interim options. And I know they were provided to you in the
No, I'm talking the permanent
recruiter.
position. Did we
The
finalize that
process?
agreement?
My understanding is that the town has a number of quotes with regards to a recruiting firm. I think there were 4 or 5 quotes that were submitted to the 5 of you for consideration. I'm not aware of the commission taking any action yet to engage a recruiting firm.
I thought those were for HR.
I believe that was for the manager. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that was for the manager position.
Commissioner Jacobs is correct. The presentation at last commission meeting was for the HR. We did a comparison with hiring a HR director,
right,
versus bringing in a company to handle the recruiting.
Excuse me.
So I think that was ranging anywhere from $7,000 to $9,000.
Back in August, though, first meeting in September, the commission voted to go forward with FCCMA on the package deal for.
Correct, and the FCCMA provided, again, a handful of names. I know you each
For the
provided
interim, yes.
copies.
Yes.
Correct, and they also provided, I think, the names of a couple firms that do executive recruiting for management positions.
I have not yet seen that.
Okay,
I think
again,
I did remember saying.
again, Commissioner, I could be mistaken, but my recollection is that the commission had discussed engaging an executive recruiting firm to go out and find a more permanent solution for the management position.
Okay, and just to be clear on the record, I continue to not get all the emails that all the commissioners are getting. This is, again, a commission form of government. We should all be getting, all 5 of us, not just 4 commissioners getting the emails. I'm left out of very serious emails of things going on in the town and shouldn't be left out of these emails. This has been ongoing since March of 2015. I'm sorry, 2023, my problem.
I would like to say on this matter, with this employment agreement, I would like to see this not go forward, just due to some information that seems not fitting for the town. So I would like to not see this go forwards. And I would like to see us, if we could still look for other applicants, that's fine with me. I mean,
Yeah, I would prefer to see.
After we saw the background cam, I'm not agree. I'm going to go against my vote. So
I mean, the commission is under no obligation to approve this agreement. To engage somebody pursuant to a contract, it takes a meeting of the minds. And if the commission is not comfortable with the outgrowth of your acting manager's negotiations with Mr. Bell and the agreement before you this evening, you have no obligation to approve it. You have no obligation to move it forward.
So, town attorney, we had all the interviews with all those applicants that were here. Those are still valid applicants for the position.
Sure.
Can we revote on that position then, using those applicants?
If the applicants are still interested, they may.
So-
If I may make a suggestion, if the intent tonight by a majority of the commission is not to move forward with a contract with Mr. Bell, I would suggest putting a discussion item on your agenda for the 15th so you can provide some more clear direction to your acting manager as to which direction the commission would like to go in.
At the same time, can we, sorry, can we give direction to the town manager to reach out to those applicants to find out who is still interested in the position?
Absolutely. That's in order. Absolutely.
So,
So let's put this as a discussion item for the next meeting.
Just to be clear, so Mr. Gagne can properly advise Mr. Bell, the intent of the commission is not to move forward with that agreement?
Yes.
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 so, okay, so the commission does not want to go forward with this agreement. Then how about direction for the town manager to reach out to the previous 10 candidates
Yeah.
that had applied for the position? There's 10 of them, or I would say 9 then,
See if they're still interested. Sure.
and see if they're still interested in the
Yeah,
position.
it's good.
Bring that forward at the next commission meeting, or even
Or would it make
prior to letting us know who's still interested in the position.
Yeah, or wouldn't it make sense to get a professional company to simply
we did
find
that.
one for
We
us?
did that. We already did that.
Did that, Eric. That's
Eric,
how
we paid $35,000 for that with FCCMA to find a permanent town manager position. This is an interim to get us by while we do the permanent search for the position.
So we are expecting it to take 6 months to find a permanent.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to the recruiting process other than share some of the past experience that I can talk to, I mean, having gone through this several times. For instance, the city of Cooper City engaged a city manager that started on June 1st. They went through a nationwide search. They used an executive recruiting firm. That process started in December of 22. The new manager started on June 1st. So it was roughly a 6-month period.
Yes, I find it's a huge expense for an interim for 6 months. I mean,
No, there is no expense for the interim. You're bringing in an interim town manager to run the manager and to manage the town,
Manage.
and the public works director or public services director running the public services department. The interim is bringing someone in for 6 months while we are still working on our search. That we've already contracted for. I believe
If I may, just that point,
So-
Commissioner, if I may, if it's just to reconfirm with regards to the recruiting process, I would also suggest maybe placing a discussion item on the 15th agenda to specifically address the recruiting for a city manager, the executive recruiting. I don't
For
recall.
permanent.
Permanent, yeah, for a permanent
Please
town
say
manager.
permanent interim, so there's a division.
Yeah, I'm talking about a permanent
I understand
solution.
what you're saying.
A permanent solution to the town manager problem, or vacancy, I should say. I am not aware of this commission approving a contract with an executive recruiting firm. I am aware of the town receiving several quotes from executive recruiters for that purpose.
Okay, and I can say I have not seen those.
And I could be confusing HR.
Okay.
I thought it was town manager.
Okay, well, let's get
Nevertheless,
that
if we put-
clarified in between the next 2
Yeah,
weeks.
and if we put that on the agenda for the 15th
let's-
for discussion,
Yeah.
to reconfirm.
let's put that on next.
And Mr. Gagne will advise Mr. Bell of the status of his agreement.
Any more comments on this one?
Nope.
Okay, we'll move it to the next meeting. 13.3, Public Works Warehouse Storage Lease Agreement. That will be you, Director.
Yeah, the Public Works Department presently has a rental unit or rental space at Lakeside Business Park for equipment and some of the equipment and other tools that Public Works has. They actually lost some of their storage space when the police department had to vacate. Well, they actually built out the police department. We had some of the equipment there. So I believe it was done almost a year and a half ago, when this space became available, a year ago. The owner of the space is Michael Smith, and he is leasing us to the town for free. I actually reached out to him and asked the question, if this is your business, why are you giving it to the town for free if because quid pro quo, whether he's going to want something in return. I personally talked to him today about this issue. It came up that this is not the first time they have done it. He said they have been in the town for over 30 years. His grandfather actually gave the city the property where our master station is. That's one property. They also donated property where the transfer station is for solid waste to the county. So this is not only the first gesture that they have done in the town. And he said they are also willing to extend the lease for another year until we could, get additional space. And that's why this agreement is on the agenda.
And I'd like to discuss the same thing I discussed before when this came forward a year ago.
Okay.
I do not believe in business being at $0. The town needs to pay a fair market value for their spot. There is nothing in life that's free. Something always has a cost, and you don't know what that cost is. You don't know when it's going to come about. If we're not paying fair market value for a space that we're leasing with the business owner in the town, I believe it's got ethical issues. Per the former town attorney, there was no ethical issues by taking the free contract or agreement. I wholeheartedly disagree with that, and I believe we should be paying something for the storage place, but the commission voted to accept it for free. I voted no.
Okay.
And my opinion still stands with regards to that. I don't believe the town should be taking anything for free.
Howard, what do you think about it?
I'll defer to the attorney.
Yeah, again, I'm not aware of the history of the origin of this item. We have reviewed the lease agreement, and it is legally sufficient. I have no objection to moving forward with the leases.
All right, so we'll move that forward.
Yep.
Holiday lighting. There's a line item.
Line item.
Holiday lighting.
Oh, yeah,
discussion
sorry.
on that one.
Yeah, actually, at the last commission meeting, it was brought up. The town actually has a 3-year contract it's actually a lease purchase contract. This year being 2023, all the lighting and ornaments would be owned by the town. There is a cost attached to it. At the last meeting, I did give the numbers. It was $30,854 that was paid in 2021. And in 2022, it was $19,950. That was a correction because I did mention it was close to $40,000. That was an inaccurate number because an invoice was sent for $40,000, but it was contested and it was corrected. Moving forward,
What was the amount then?
it
Last
was
year?
$30,854.
I knew that 44,000 was.
Yeah, so I stand corrected, and I am mentioning it. There was an invoice for $40,000, and it was contested and corrected.
Okay.
All right. In 2022, we paid $19,950 for the installation, maintenance, and the takedown of all the the lighting and the equipment that was provided. This year, which is 2023, is going to be installation, maintenance, and takedown for all the lighting, and an additional $11,500 for wrapping of the palm trees along the boulevard or along Harlandale Beach Boulevard for $11,500, which would amount to $26,900
In total.
in total. Now, last year there was also some lighting done at the park that was and also an archway that was a decorative archway that was at the park as well. That also came up in my discussion with the vendor, and my recommendation in speaking to him is actually doing Harlandale Beach Boulevard. But again, this is why this item is before the commission. I would like to ask direction on where the lighting preference would be and where would you guys like to have the lighting moving forward.
Let me explain the history on this. We were actually going to do a Christmas event in the park with vendors and such that never came to fruition this year as the commission's completely changed since March of this year. So all the previous plans that we had didn't pan out. So the lights should go back onto the boulevard and leave them there.
I agree.
Okay. Let's put that as a line.
Yeah,
item
just
next time.
just some direction because there's 2 items on this that I would like to discuss. Susie?
I mean, in the future, is there any idea in us doing this ourselves?
Right, I think
After this.
we own the equipment after this year. So we're going to have to discuss storage, and we're going to have to discuss where we're going to keep it. That's going to be an issue. Move through, Susie.
Here are
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And just to be clear, we have 10,000 square feet of unused space on the third floor after the police department
Exactly.
moves into their offices.
So can you hold up here right there? This is the wrap. If you look at the medule palms, the white light that are actually wrapping the trees is the one that I'm referring to for the additional cost. Together with the 15,000, sorry, this is the additional 11,000 that I'm talking about. Next one, Susie.
So after this season, we will look into
About 26,000, yes. No, this season is going to be done by the company.
And then next year
And
we'll
then
look
from
at-
next year, we're going to be owning all the lighting and all the ornaments.
Okay.
That will be great.
Okay? All right.
Yep.
Next one. All right, on this item too, there's several banners, holiday banners that is actually placed on the poles. We do have 70 of them on both sides of Harlandale Beach Boulevard. Presently, there's about anywhere from 18 to 20 of them that is in good condition.
The rest are ruined.
The rest are really not good. And if the old ornaments, if you can bring it up, because I will need direction to get, well, to remove them.
So
These are ornaments that has been in the town's possession since in the early, some of them was told to me by staff in the late 80s, early 90s.
So they
Yes.
serve their purpose.
And you could see some of them. If you go through, I had the public works crew actually pull out everything, and we took pictures and videos of what we had. These are some of the ornaments that we have, but that we had in storage.
All right. That's something we have to go and look at physically. one
They're
day.
all faded out.
Yeah, you could see it.
They're broken.
Well,
Yeah, some are broken.
You don't want to deal with trying to fix them.
not worth it. These things kind of tend to get cheaper and not more expensive. All right.
So on the banners, I think with the 20 that we have and with the poles along Harlandale Beach Boulevard, we're going to require an additional 50 banners, which will cost like about $75 per banner. And we're also looking at the brackets, the banner brackets, which the quote is in this item. We are looking at about $50 for the brackets for each pole, which will give me roughly about $6,200 to actually put up all the decoration and all the banner brackets with the banners along Harlandale Beach.
I think it needs to be done. showing
And
that
I need direction.
interest in the
Yeah.
community.
I will need some sort of direction. No, we're fine if they understand.
What direction you want?
Whether to move ahead with both the contract for the lighting and the banners.
It's under the threshold of
$30
amount. This could be direction, right? Town attorney?
It would be direction to the manager to move forward. The item would still be on your agenda for the
For vote at
formal
the next
action.
meeting,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Direction to move forward?
Yes.
With vote, line item at the next meeting.
Liner, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor, if I may just forgive the interruption. Mr. Bell, I'm just told by the police chief is here and would like the opportunity to briefly address the commission. It's entirely within the commission's discretion, but I did want to make
Yes.
you aware.
Well, do you want to finish first? Do you want to?
Yeah, I have,
How much more you got?
I think 2 more items, and then we can wrap up this session.
Work for Mr. Bell? Thank you. Yeah, wrap it up.
This actually is a Bobcat or skid steer that was mentioned at the last commission meeting. Since we're in the new fiscal year, we did put in there for a line item to purchase a Bobcat. I believe I asked for 70,000, but I'm not sure exactly how much was allocated. But we went off the sheriff's bid, and there are several Bobcats or several skid steer ranging from around $52,000 to like about $82,000. I had a meeting with staff, and they all agreed that the Kubota SVL 75-3, which is on the sheriff's bid for a cost of $52,098, is the one that I think can do the job for us.
Does it come with the forks and accessories?
That's the other item. All the attachments is not part of the purchase, but I would like approval for an additional $10,000 to get all the accessories.
And this is using the ARPA funds that we previously requested for this item?
That was the plan of action, to use ARPA funds to purchase it.
Okay.
It's a well-reputed machinery,
Yes.
so let's move that for
Line item.
line
Thank
item.
you. Okay. And I think with that, I'm completed my items.
All right. Miss,
Um, Sorry.
that's town attorney. That's-
RFQ for town attorney consultant.
I think I will defer to,
Mayor, Commission, Vice Mayor, I should say, Commission, last month, you may recall, our office was directed to assist in preparing a new RFQ for legal services. You may recall the Commission rejected the 3 proposals that were received in response to the RFP that was previously submitted. We prepared a formal bid package, which is included in your agenda this evening. Preparing that package, I did have a number of questions that I was unable to answer. They're operational in nature. I know that the manager had placed the item on the agenda looking for some confirmation. Specifically with regards to the schedule, I would defer ultimately to the manager as it relates to when the RFQ would be released, the deadline for questions and proposals. I don't know if the commission has any interest in weighing in on the time frame, but I would certainly welcome your input to the extent that you would. There are a couple provisions in the RFQ that I am unclear about. One is the prior RFP referenced an evaluation committee. I'm not aware that the town used an evaluation committee when you considered your last round of potential applicants. I did not know if you wanted to continue to include that in the solicitation or have me take that language out. I would defer to your direction.
Well,
And just
We have
for
not, we
yeah.
didn't use anything last time.
And for reference, because this is one of the few positions that reports directly to the commission, it is somewhat atypical to use an evaluation committee for a direct report. This would be a position that you all would be directly engaged in having those conversations. I'm happy to remove that language. It was in your last RFP. I just didn't want to remove it without your consent and agreement.
I think it's fine to remove it.
Yeah.
Anyone have an issue with it?
no, I don't have an issue with it.
No,
You want to vote on it then at the meeting, or?
No, well, just,
Direction.
I'm just looking for some direction. This would not necessarily require any action. I do have a couple other just comments, if I may. We have, every bid package has evaluation criteria and certain weight ascribed to each of those criterion. Your former RFP had price considered as one of those criterion, what it was going to cost, what your various proposers were submitting in the context of price. The direction was to remove price from that solicitation. We have done that. We've expanded the point value for the remaining criteria. I just want to reconfirm that the commission is in agreement with those newly weighted criteria. We've included qualifications and experience at 40 points, experience working with city government at 40 points, references and recommendations at 10 points, and the methodology and approach of prospective firms at 10 points for a total of 100 points. Again, we removed, I think Price previously had either 10 or 20 points, and the other criterion were rebalanced. We removed Price and re-weighted. Just want to make sure that you are all okay with that approach. The RFP also includes a point of contact person in the town. Under your former RFP, the contact person was your HR director. We no longer have somebody serving in that capacity. I just wanted to reconfirm, I think that Mr. Ghani had indicated he would be listed as the point person. I want to make sure that the commission is comfortable with that approach and Mr. Ghani is comfortable with that approach. Again, short of that, I would need some direction as far as who the commission would like included in that item.
right, and that was just tentative because with the absence of an HR director, that's my only direction on this. And on the dates, the only reason that I saw it fit to leave it out is based on direction that we get tonight on how we want to move the RFQ forward.
well, let's move forward by removing that language there, and then any objections or
Sorry, so-
questions on that?
Direction
Okay.
just to move forward, remove it.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and remove it. The other, and again, just if I may, just 2 other quick comments. Your former RFP had a term of years. It specifically sought to engage somebody for a 3-year term with 2 one-year renewals.
Right.
That's a little unusual for legal services. At the end of the day, irrespective of any fee, engagement, or contract that you may have with a law firm, that law firm is governed by the rules regulating the Florida bar. We operate commission meeting to commission meeting. There's no term we're not entitled to any term when it comes to our relationship with the town. Typically, if a commission wanted to remove the town attorney, that can happen by putting an item on the agenda, providing the proper notice, complying with the bar rules.
So
My recommendation would be to remove a defined term under the RFQ and simply let the bar rules govern that relationship. Before I made that change, I just wanted to make sure that you all were comfortable with that approach.
I am.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. The only other comment, which again is something I saw that was somewhat unusual in a RFP for legal services, your prior RFP has the following sentence: "The town will consider the selected firm to be the sole point of contact with regard to contractual matters, including the payment of any and all charges." It would be very, very uncommon for your town attorney's office to be involved with the payment of invoices to contractors. That's typically something handled by finance.
And public.
With your permission, I'd like to remove that sentence as well.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Thank you. And with that, we'll work with your manager to finalize the RFQ.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. That's good. All right. And so we move that to a line item for next.
That will not require any action.
No.
Typically, and again, unless the commission wants to formally consider it, which you're certainly welcome to do, the commission does not typically approve bid packages before they're issued on the street.
Okay.
You did not approve the last one. I don't have a problem with it, certainly, but with that direction and clarification, I also don't have a problem making the changes, and your manager will issue the solicitation.
Right. And do you want to bring Mr. Bell on first here so we can get that? You want to address us, please, so we can return to this long contract here afterwards.
Thank you very much, Commission, Manager, City Attorney, and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to quickly address you. Several weeks ago,
Mr. Bell, could you just state your full name so we have it? Thank you.
Daryl Troy Bell, full name?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Sure. Several weeks back when you posted this position or advertised it, I was a manager in transition, MIT. I submitted my information. My information was considered. I went through the process that you had available and listened to the commission meeting where you evaluated and selected me for the position. I want to emphasize that from that point going forward, every time I was asked for information to be provided, I provided that information in a timely fashion. I'm not exactly sure why the third-party company took as long as it did, but at the current time, I am an interim manager. I hold that position. In the intervening time, I have walked every single street in the town. I'm very familiar with the town. I have put in the time. I want to make sure that you don't make a decision lightly. It is completely within the prerogative of the commission to decide not to move forward with the contract. I've enjoyed working with the acting manager and the attorney in negotiating the contract. I'm glad that we were able to come to an understanding, and that's what's in before you now. From the time that you made the decision, my family has been on hold. I have a 16-year-old, a 9-year-old, and 11-year-old. Between Michigan and here, I have not moved forward on the other positions because the commission has selected me, as was said in that meeting, and so I've waited for that background to come back. As I was told that before we could finish negotiating the contract, that was a step that had to be done. So I want to make sure that the decision is not made lightly because I have been on hold. I have not moved forward, and between Michigan and here, we've been in limbo waiting for the time when this contract was completed for the 6-month contract. This was particularly attractive to me, and I said that to Commissioner Kashem when we went through the process, because I am a few months away from being vested in FRS. Started my career here, and this would be a great opportunity to come back here and continue forward. And if you were satisfied with the work that I did, as Commissioner Kashem said, then possibly look at the potential of a permanent position. The one thing that I want to emphasize, though, and I was a little concerned, was there was a reference made to background. And I received a copy of the background here. And I want to be clear that the background did not reflect any criminal activity, unethical activity, or anything that was immoral. The only thing that the background said was something in reference to my academic record not being able to be verified. And I did provide a copy of every one of my transcripts to and every one of my diplomas to the acting manager. So he has that information. If the third-party company had been given more time to do the verification, I'm sure that they would have come back with that verification. But that's the only thing, and I think you have a copy of it there, right? That was an issue. So when an open reference is made to background, then people could infer that there were other things associated with it. And I want to make sure if the commission decides not to move forward with my contract, which is your prerogative, that cloud does not stay over any of the applications that I do moving forward. I would love to be here in this community. Like I said, I had an opportunity to spend time here, to meet several of the business owners, to meet several of the residents, and I'm excited about the possibility of being here. But I want to make sure that if you decide not to go in that direction, that there is no misunderstanding about the background information. And I said to Aleem earlier today that I'd be happy to be here just in case there are any questions that might arise, so I would be in a position to respond to that.
Mr. Bell, we're sorry that the company we hired took so long to get that background check to us, and we apologize for that time delay. I'm sure your family and everybody else was affected by it, as we were.
Yes.
But the commission has made a decision. But thank you, though.
Well, thank you very much.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to 13.8, interlocal agreement renewal, unsafe structures.
I'm sorry, 13.7, Mr. Vice Mayor.
7.
Oh, sorry.
Actually, this item came before you.
Is that the same?
No.
Vulnerability assessment.
This is the vulnerability assessment report. This item is here before you because at the 2 commission meetings ago, I asked for approval to actually sign the agreement, the application, sorry, and send it up to the state. We were awarded, and the contract with FDEP for the vulnerability assessment was executed, I believe 2 weeks ago. Now that the contract is executed, we have, since I started here at the town, I was told by the prior town manager that Kimley Horn was the company that was selected to do this job. I went back into our records. I did not find any resolution or any records of it being awarded to Kimley Horn. So what this item here is before you today is we have the approved contract from FDEP for the vulnerability assessment. We have our CCNA list of approved consultants. I believe Kimley Horn was identified to do this job. I just want to make sure to put it on record that I've spoken to FDEP and had 2 meetings with them already. They are okay with the process, and I'm waiting to get it in writing formally that they will approve our CCNA contract so we can move forward if this item is approved tonight. I just want to make sure that is on the record.
So you didn't find anything that we had done this previous?
Sorry?
You didn't find anything that we had done this
No,
previous?
since I looked since April, and I know JC told me that it was approved, but there's no record of it being approved by the commission.
Okay, will you have something ready for the next meeting?
That's as long as I get approval from FDEP, it will be ready. Yes.
Thank you. And now it's 13.8.
Now it's 13. Hey, you want to do this one?
This is just a renewal. As the commission is aware, we contract with Broward County for our Unsafe Structures Board service. It's a very specific process dictated by the Florida Building Code, specifically the Broward County amendments to the Florida Building Code. We've had a long-standing contract with the county for that purpose. In fact, you may recall we've used that process relatively recently. I provided some updates on the Anderson litigation with regards to the unsafe structure process that our office was recently involved in. This is an extension of that agreement. It's only a contract that we use on an as-needed basis. This is a renewal for a 5-year period. It's the county's standard form document. I've reviewed it. I would certainly recommend approval to the extent that the board or the commission would like to continue to utilize the county for that purpose.
Right. Any questions?
No.
Let's move that to
Line item.
Line item.
And then, well, you're still on, Town Attorney.
Thank you.
Bamboo Paradise ownership update.
Yeah, 14.1.
Before we go
Vice
forward,
Mayor.
can we take a 5-minute recess?
Yeah,
The rest was-
absolutely. Recess 5 minutes.
Okay.
You look as miserable as me.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Readjourned. Anyway, where did we go?
May I?
14.1.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, Commission. At your workshop on September 27th, you may recall that our office was directed to look into some of the ownership and encumbrance issues with regards to certain portions of the Bamboo Paradise Mobile Home Park. As a result of that direction, we went and pulled a title search report for the subject property. We prepared a legal memorandum, which is included in your backup, that also includes all of the backup information associated with the title search report. A couple observations as a result of that process. The rec hall in question actually straddles both the right-of-way and the mobile home park, as we know. There's a 99-year lease, which is included in your backup, was entered into back in March of 1992 between the town and the mobile home park owner, Mr. Zell, that includes a portion of that rec hall property. In other words, it appears by all accounts that the town is the fee simple owner of a small portion of the rec hall and a tenant in the larger eastern portion of the rec hall. That is a highly, highly unusual situation. The other, the other thing that we are somewhat unclear on is the lease agreement includes metes and bounds and a legal description, but it does not clearly delineate the property that is the subject of the rec hall and the overall leased property. One of the things that we'd like to do in furtherance of our effort here is engage a professional surveyor to actually survey the property, ascertain the exact location of that building to get a better sense for what our duties, rights, and responsibilities are with regard to that location. This is an unusual situation. I mean, there's no question that, you know, the ownership is unusual, the town's rights are unusual. The lease itself is very favorable to the town. Gives us a lot of flexibility as it relates to that property, and says very clearly in Section 7 that the town, at its cost, at our expense, has the absolute and unequivocal right to remove, remodel, or make any existing improvements on the subject property without any obligation to replace what's currently there. The question that we have is, how is that subject property actually defined? And we'd like to engage a surveyor to actually get a better understanding of what is included within that leased property area. We do have some options there. We have some rights to make improvements there. The landlord, Mr. Zell, has reserved the right for ingress and egress. Anything that we do to improve that property would be subject to the rights that are reserved within that lease. But, you know, candidly, until we have a more clear understanding of how the leased property is defined, I'm not comfortable giving you the green light or okay to start spending public money on what is otherwise private land. We need to have a better understanding of where our rights begin, where our rights end, and where the private property actually, what constitutes private versus public property within Bamboo Park. The lease is very helpful. Clearly, we have some rights as the tenant under that lease, but with your permission, we would like some better definition as far as the leased property and who in fact has the ultimate rights to that rec hall facility. Clearly under the lease today, we can demolish it, improve it, remove it, whatever we need to do. We do have that right and ability under the lease. But with regards to the broader property defined by the lease, we would like some more clarity as to what that is and where our rights begin. So that's sort of the open issue when it comes to Bamboo Paradise, and given the particular uniqueness of how this building straddles both private property and public property. Again, I don't know how this ultimately occurred some number of years ago. It is a unique situation, but we would like, with your permission, to continue digging a little deeper with your manager to get a better sense.
I think yes, we will do that.
Yeah.
There was another issue also that we should know about, that within that lease, there was also some sort of mention of a payment that had to be made annually that had to do with taxes.
And I know that our finance director is not here. One of the things that the lease says, and if you give me one moment, I just want to pull it up and kind of reference it specifically. There was an obligation of the town to make certain payments within that property as it relates to, I believe it was sewer and stormwater improvements. We don't know whether those payments were ever made. We've asked your finance department. I believe they're looking into that issue. We don't have the answer as it stands this evening. To the extent that the town has not complied with certain terms of the lease, that might otherwise void some of our rights.
Yeah.
So there, again, we've started the due diligence here. It is a, well, say it this way, the more layers of the onion we peel back tend to open up the door to more questions. With your permission, we would like to continue to look into this matter and request you hold off on taking any action until we have a more definitive answer when it comes to our rights under the lease, Mr. Zell's rights under the lease, and how that is delineated between the public and the private interests in that particular community.
And I think we could change the name to the building as Pandora's Box.
I looked into I asked around about the history of it, and the intention from the commission who was involved in it was to connect Linear Park with Behan Park and make it like a, so people could exercise and so forth. I think that was their intention, but they didn't get the paperwork right.
And it seems like there may be some gaps as far as what should have or could have occurred at the time. We will look into this, continue to look into this. At some point, I anticipate asking the question, what is it that the town really is looking to do there? If we have some sense as far as our goals and objectives, that might give us a little more clarity as it relates to the direction that we're working in.
Did you get any clarity on the tax?
Again, the finance department is looking into that issue. I did follow up after you and I had that exchange briefly this afternoon. We've not gotten an answer yet, but I believe that Ms. Noel and Mr. DiLena are both looking into that, just to confirm whether those payments have been made.
Right. Well, not just that to Mr. Zell, but I'm talking about what about who's paying the real estate tax on the property?
And again, if the town is not subject to taxes, the private property owner is subject to taxes.
Right. But if we lease it,
if you lease to a public agency, there may be some tax implications with regards to that process. And incidentally, it works true the other way. If you lease publicly owned property to a private entity, that public property becomes taxable. So the analysis runs both ways.
Yes, but since we have the right of
we have the right, presumably there may be some relief from a tax perspective, but that is one of the issues we'd like to continue to look into. And your finance department's also looking at that issue.
But you don't need a cup from David Sell.
As of now,
have everything
as
right.
of now, I think we have everything we need. And again, the only ask I would offer at this point is your permission to engage a surveyor or a professional engineer to help us get a better understanding of the wreck property, the legal description described in the lease, so we have a better sense for where those rights ultimately begin.
Well, I'm handing this gavel. No, you're
welcome, Madam Mayor.
Hello, how are you?
Look at the damage you've done here.
That was not me.
Well, I hand you the gavel. Thank you.
So if that, I'll take that as just general consensus to continue with our efforts. Thank you.
Yes.
Director Gagani, do you think we need a surveyor at this point?
Yeah, as the attorney alluded, I think getting the meets and bounds, which is the actual legal description, cleaned up or cleared up with a survey is going to be important to see which direction.
The word is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, Vice Mayor, to that point, one thing that the lease did not have was an original sketch and survey. You talk about items that were missing from the title report. That is one of the items. The absence of that original sketch complicates the discussion.
All right. Mayor's taking over.
Well, we don't need any action there, Commissioner. We'll take that as direction. Thank you.
Okay. So you have the direction to get the survey done?
We do. Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. 14.2 settlement agreement.
Just continuing, and I know you're very familiar with this item, the commission actually approved a settlement agreement at the last meeting. Just a quick follow-up. We did reach out to Mr. Howard through his counsel, through our special counsel, Mr. Stearns. They have agreed to the cost deduction that we talked about, both for the air card and for the cleaning. So that issue has been resolved. Given the fact that the town has now asked for some additional consideration from Mr. Howard, that did raise some concerns for his counsel. As a result, they've asked for mutual releases. The prior version of the settlement included a release in favor of the town. Mr. Howard is now asking for a mutual release in favor of himself as well. Again, I have no legal objection to that. It runs both ways. I'm not aware of the town looking to pursue anything against Mr. Howard. I would recommend that we just put this on the next agenda for further action and approval. And without objection, I defer to the mayor as to that approach.
You can move that forward as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Yeah, put that on
Thank you,
consent.
Commissioner. May I, Mayor? Thank you. The next item, 14.3, I believe it is. So this is this item is an outgrowth of the OIG report, which I know you were all very intimately aware of. You may recall during the workshop, we spoke briefly about the report, particularly some of the recommendations, and more importantly, some of the follow-up that we can expect from the Inspector General's office within 60 days. As a result of that analysis, our office prepared several things which are included in the backup. There's first of all, a legal memorandum which we prepared, which outlines a number of recommendations and items that are further prepared in the backup, including a Pembroke Park purchasing policy and manual. The OIG report referenced a draft manual that appeared to exist in the town. It was never finalized, so far as they can tell, so far as we can tell. We have gone through that manual with your acting manager and made a number of recommendations that are included in your backup. I would encourage you, if you haven't read through it, to read through it in some detail to the extent that you are willing and able. It is a robust and comprehensive purchasing process for the town. It includes most of the items that the OIG has recommended. Several of the items that they recommended were already incorporated in our code. There is a P card policy that's included in here, along with some other general procurement safeguards that I think are very worthy of your collective review and consideration. The other item that we prepared, which was also referenced in the report and recommended by the IG's office, was a travel policy. Rather than put together a more formal policy, what we did was prepare a travel policy in the form of an ordinance. The ordinance is consistent with state law. There are a number of provisions in the Florida statutes that speak to travel and reimbursements. The ordinance in your backup is consistent with Chapter 166, which governs municipalities, along with Chapter 112, which speaks specifically to travel and reimbursements for state agencies. It's a fairly detailed process. Again, I would encourage you just to take the opportunity to read through it, make sure you understand it. To the extent that you are in agreement, I would ask that it be added to your 15th agenda for first reading for your formal consideration and move forward to that effect. A couple other things the OIG report also referenced. One was a P-card user agreement, some limited acknowledgement for the members of your staff that have access to P-cards. Something to recognize that by taking a P-card, you're assuming certain financial duties and obligations on behalf of the town. Some affirmative recognition that by taking the P-card, you are subject to a policy and other legal safeguards that the town has adopted. It's a very simple and straightforward acknowledgement document that we've drafted. It's included in your backup for your consideration. One of the things that the OIG focused on in some detail was training, and the town's lack historically of providing training to your professional staff when it comes to purchasing and procurement. We've provided some training tools, not the substance of training, which we're also happy to do if it's the commission's intent and direction, but if and when you do schedule training with your staff, have your staff members sign in and acknowledge the fact that on such and such a date and time, they participated in training. So in the future, if there was ever a question as to whether this commission and this town has provided the appropriate guidance and training to your staff, you'll have the documentation to support, yes, we did on this date, and these particular individuals were in attendance at that time.
I believe that when you receive a credit card, you are already signing for the card and the procedures and regulations. I think that's already in place.
Is that in place? Yeah.
It is in place.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So there may be a distinction between credit cards and P cards.
Well, they're basically the same.
Yeah. So if that is already in place, then it would be a non-issue. That was one of the items that the OIG report did identify. So we just wanted to make sure that step was covered.
Yeah, I remember signing for the card and the conditions to how to use it.
And then, as I said, just some training tools was the other item in the back. The two items I'd encourage you to focus on, to the extent that you're willing, first would be the purchasing and procurement manual, and the second would be the ordinance for the travel policy. We know that the OIG is going to come back and look in some detail within probably the next 30 days at this point as to what efforts have been made. This presentation this evening, the items on your backup on the agenda this evening, will be part of their review. With your permission, I'd like to put the ordinance on for first reading on the 15th, and then the policy as well for your consideration and approval at that time.
Yes, go ahead.
So thank you. And again, if there are any questions, comments, revisions, those can always be made during first reading of the ordinance. So, thank you, Mayor Commission.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding it? No. Okay, perfect. 15.1, Koinonia Veteran Appreciation Brunch. Commissioner Hodgkins.
Yeah, this item is just, they had, the Koinonia veterans had come here, and the lady in charge was here at the town and asking for donations from the town. And I had to check with our town attorney to see if it was legal for us to be using public funds to. But in lieu of that, they decided that Susie organized 5 10-by-10 tents for the event that they wanted to have instead of and for us to consider a monetary donation. So it's up to us here if you want to actually give them money.
Is there a tradition for doing so?
I'm sorry?
I'm just asking if there's a tradition for doing so.
We do sponsor some events if there's a benefit to our residents and things like that, but I did find a funding source for them. We just need to basically kind of connect them together. So the Florida League of Mayors, one of their initiatives is veteran services, and they actually have some money that they can give to them for the brunch. I know looking at the sponsorship cost, they were kind of a little pricey for a brunch.
Yeah, they were looking like $2,000 or something.
2,000, 5,000, 10,000
Yeah,
for
yeah.
brunch. I'm like, what are you doing, these people? So if somebody could reach out to them and let Valerie know to give her Scott, what's his name? Coral Springs. Scott. Brooks. If they could, if somebody could connect them, they have, like I said, they have funding. They could give them money for the sponsorship. In the past, like I said, we don't do full sponsorship because there's a lot of organizations that do want sponsorship for different things. I'll get to you in a second. I saw your hand. Yeah. But I mean, some of the sponsorship was a little pricey. So, I mean, if you want, you could do like a monetary donation of $500. That would, I think that
it
would
was
be
just up to the commission whether they wanted to do one at all. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, loaning the tents was fine. That we're going to that extent.
Okay.
Okay, let's consider the tent lending our contribution.
Sure.
And before doing so, I'd like to give direction to the town manager or the acting town manager to ensure Koinonia, as a disabled veteran myself, I fully support this, but the worship center historically has events and refuses to pull the proper permits, notifying the town of all their events. Can you ensure that the permit is properly pulled? Anything outside their church itself, a city permit needs pulled for any event that happens outside. So when they're putting up tents and such, things that happen inside the church is completely separate from an event. But anything outdoor does require a town's permit. And as much as I like the former West Park mayor, he refuses to pull permits with the town. And we've had this discussion multiple times. Please ensure a permit is pulled for this event and it's done properly prior to.
Well, we're going to give them the tents, and if they don't pull the permit, that's on them. So,
no, that's on us.
No, we're not putting them up. We're just loading them to them.
You're also giving them the ability, so it's on us. So if one of our tents fall down on someone, they injure someone, we're just as culpable. So
I don't know about that, but maybe the town attorney can figure that out.
It's always on you.
It usually is. To the extent, we're happy to look into that issue, Commissioner. I mean, again, I would ask, do we have an agreement with the worship center for this purpose? Is there any,
Not that I know of.
MOU, memorandum of understanding, any informal lease agreement, anything that authorizes them to use our tents? Is there any indemnification or hold harmless coming back the town's way?
The tents say Pembroke Park along the top of them.
Okay. Again, we're happy to prepare an agreement and put something a little more formal together when it comes to utilizing the tents, and we would ask for the appropriate indemnification and legal insulation for the town when it comes to the use of those tents.
And the time is of the essence on this. Veterans Day is coming up, and I believe it might be prior to our next meeting.
It is.
Yeah.
Do they need to sign like a disclaimer for injuries with the tent?
Well, that's what it would be. It would essentially be a hold harmless agreement.
So can we, as the commission, give the direction to the town manager, or I'm sorry, the town mayor to sign on behalf of the commission with you?
The answer is you could, or you can give direction to the manager.
To the manager?
Either
Okay.
one. Yeah, the manager can certainly sign that. And if there's consensus in the commission, we'll work
If
with
the
the
commission's
manager.
okay, why don't we give direction to the town manager to sign
I'm fine
an
with that.
agreement on behalf of the commission?
It's candidly, it's more important that the church sign the agreement. I mean, it's really
Exactly.
a hold harmless agreement for the church to sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also ensuring a permit's pulled.
So they have already gotten a special events permit for the event this time.
That would be a first.
It's always a first.
Always a first, yeah. So they have third, okay. So they have their permit, so. So did you want to still do the donation, or did you just want to
No.
introduce him to?
No, I think the tents is fine.
Okay. Okay,
Why don't you make that agreement reoccurring just in case there's anything down the road
what,
instead of a one-time?
for the tents?
Yeah.
Do you want to constantly lend out our tents?
If you're going to do events with the worship center over there, I mean, it's gonna
normally do
gonna
events.
cost us to write something up.
We don't normally do events with them.
I'm aware of that. We've done a couple.
No, but if it's for the veterans,
No, he wants to do a reoccurring thing where they can
If
borrow the
for
tents
something down the road happens, another one,
only
we
for
don't
the
have to
event
write up a
of
whole
a-
nother
We don't
agreement.
have to all over again, yeah, the agreement.
I believe what he's asking for is a standard hold harmless agreement.
Thank you.
And if I may also ask, are there any other entities that use our tents?
This is the first time.
This is the first.
Okay, because given that fact, we could prepare just a form agreement for the town to use for anybody who's interested
standard.
in our tents, and yeah, it'd be a standard, template-based form agreement.
Yep.
That if somebody petitions the town to use its tents or equipment, these are the terms and conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to make it too much of a habit though, because those tents break very easily, and we'll be replacing them quite often because every time the wind blows, if there's a windstorm, even during our food events, we've lost tents. And we're still actually renting tents even for the health fair because we don't have enough because they've been destroyed.
We will keep it simple.
Yeah.
what if somebody get harmed using our public parks and so forth? Can they sue us, or is it still under their own?
If there is no insurance,
Yeah, the
If
answer
someone
is they
trips on the sidewalk and it's our responsibility, they can sue us.
That's correct.
So if they're using that recreation hall, we should have a disclaimer that they.
Signage helps, but it will not absolve us of liability.
Pass at your own risk.
Yeah, I mean, again, the town, irrespective of whether we are at fault, it is perceived that the town has deep pockets, and we will always be named in a lawsuit. That's not to say that we will be liable for something that occurs on public property.
Would it help
But
us if we had a
signage helps, and more importantly, when we enter into relationships with nonprofit organizations, private organizations, having a hold harmless agreement and indemnification agreement, which are included both in one document, gives us some significant legal protections. It's not unlike when you go bungee jumping and sign a waiver. You're essentially waiving your rights to pursue against that particular vendor. It'd be the same thing if they borrow our tents. They're waiving any claims they might otherwise have against the town.
Can we make sure that they have an insurance policy indemnifying
Yes.
us on
Yeah.
Well, we would ask to be named as an additional insured.
Yeah. That's why I don't want to get into a habit of this. because
And
then-
again, our objective would be to have somewhat of a one-size-fits-all document, not something we'd have to tailor to everybody who came to the town to use, our tents or facilities.
Well, they're not that much to rent, so.
Yet, Mayor.
Yeah, I was basically saying the tents are really not that much to rent from Robin Hood or any other company. Just, I don't want to make this a habit.
Where to buy them?
Yeah.
They're $59 at Walmart.
So that's what I say. I really don't want to make this a habit of getting back our tents broken or being liable if something happens. You might be easier off just paying the $500.
Well, if they get
Yeah, I mean,
they're asking for donations of $2,500 or $3,000, they probably can go to Walmart and buy something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Parks and Rec Advisory Board, Acting Clerk Commissioner Kashim.
Good evening to all of you. As the commissioner appointed to Park and Recreation, I have reviewed the draft ordinance and I have a few suggested changes that I have provided to commissioners, the acting town managers, the clerk, and the town attorney. I will begin with Section 8-24 duties. I want to be certain that the duties of the board are plain for all to understand. Current language is not exact. I believe what I suggest is simply put and spells out everything the board is to do. Section 8-26. Although each commissioner will appoint one person to the board, I believe the entire commission should decide who stays on the board. Section 8-27, I ask that we allow people who have interest in the town and park of Surf if they want to. The park is not just for people who live here, but for people who have interest in our community, like our business owners. We hope they will support our festivals and cultural events by sponsoring, so they should have input. I believe Mayor Rashida has to say something about also the perks. So,
Yeah, I know that we had the conversation earlier today regarding the qualifications. I think that the Canadians should be able to, because they utilize the park on a regular basis, especially with their picnics in the park every Wednesday during session.
And if I may, just given our conversation, Mayor, given Commissioner Kashem's comments, what I'd like to do, with your permission, is take the ordinance, incorporate those changes into the document, so when you see it for first reading on the 15th, it will address all of your comments.
yes.
Yeah, I also think that like with I know for my board, I'd like to be able to attend the board more so than having an attorney and a manager there to hang out with the kids. And I think that that would be the same thing, that this would be her board. And I think that she would be better fit to kind of oversee it. I mean, public works should definitely be there, but I don't know if we necessarily need the attorney.
No objection, Mayor.
Well, we can always save some money, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think they're going to be addressing any legal issues. And then the other thing that I was also thinking about, I was looking at, was we need them, because there was like the language for the scheduling of the meetings were like January or something else. And I know that for FDOT, we need to have 3 meetings, 3 public input meetings for the year to cover the FDOT grants. So we need to make sure that we're meeting at that time. So I think it would be better for them to kind of choose when they want to meet. And the same thing with mine on the youth committee, because I think we had them meeting during school. And I'm like, no, let them meet during the summer. Give them something to do, keep them busy. Sorry. let them focus on schoolwork during school time. So I think those were the things that I kind of noticed with that. But like I said, we had that conversation.
Yeah, we just spoke this afternoon, and again, with your collective permission, we will bring back those ordinances for first reading with the changes that are discussed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's the same thing for
That applies to both boards.
both of them. So I kind of just wanted to knock them out together.
Yep, that works.
Okay. And then, yay, we're done. Okay, no, sorry.
Nice try.
I know. I do want to bring back up the RFP for the town attorney's thing. I know you guys covered it, but I just want to make sure that we have like a section in there basically stating that we would like, even though we're not considering price as a point factor. There were two things. We had the conversation. I don't know if you discussed it, but that selection committee that should be brought before the commission.
All of the other comments, including the ones you and I went through, were addressed by your colleagues.
Okay, perfect.
The only open issue was the one you and I.
Okay. So yeah. So the only other thing is that I just want to make sure that there's a section that basically like puts out that, hey, what's budgeted for the attorney is 200 or 250,000. Please don't waste your time or our time by submitting. It's like for me, it's more so not even a request for proposal, a request for qualifications, more so of letter of intent. Kind of like is more so what we're really trying to garner from folks, but we want to make sure that they stay within that guideline of.
Yeah. What I will do, with your permission, is speak with your manager, acting manager tomorrow, find out what the current fiscal year's budget includes for legal services, put that in the RFP, and suggest the expectation is to not exceed that cap.
Yes, please. That way we're not trying to compare apples and oranges and everything else.
RFQ.
RFQ. I'm sorry, if I said RFP, it would be an RFQ. That's right. Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah. So that's all I had wanted to add on that one. And then
15-4 now. 15-4, youth board.
No, we covered it with together.
That's all you wanted to say with that?
Okay. Yep, that was it. All right. Town clerk comments? Isha?
15.3.
Wait, 15 point, which one? 15.3 was pulled.
Postponed.
Yeah.
Tabled.
Yep. Okay. Attorney comments?
I've spoken enough this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Town manager comments?
Ran out of words.
I think I'll just make it
quick.
Okay. To address the fish kill, I believe I sent an email out. Broward County was contacted the same day. We did do a test, and we are waiting the results. I actually contacted Broward County again today about it, and the cleanup was done. It actually cost us about $4,800 to get everything cleaned up. And the testing continues. So we took another set of samples yesterday. And as soon as we get the samples back, I'll let you know. We did check into the cameras over the park, but it doesn't go all the way beyond where the docks are to see if anything or anybody was there. So Mark and I are looking into seeing whether we could actually put some cameras further to where the lake is, as you know, in the future. The lot clearing on to the north of City Hall here. I did get a request to do some of the cleaning because some of the trees that is in the right of way, actually the branches fall over. And also I was told by staff here that sometimes the branches are taken and tossed over the fence. Now, if we do that or if our staff does that, then the liability falls on us to do the cleanup along that fence. So what I suggest is that, because I'm hearing conflicting information in talking to staff, we go out and clean it for the first time and clean up that area along the fence line and remove the branches, and then moving forward, we'll let the property owners know about that. That's the property here to the north. I'm just asking direction if I have permission to get staff to do that.
I don't have an issue with it.
But does it? Yeah, but does it become any proceedings with this? I mean.
No, again, I try. Sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
No. You're saying it's a one time and done.
This is one time, since I'm hearing conflicting information from staff, whether it was done in the past, but since they told me that there's evidence that the branches were thrown over the fence, then it becomes our liability. Exactly. The liability falls on us. So what I suggest is we clean it one time, clean up against the fence line all the way around, and then moving forward, it will go back onto the property owner.
And we also have a coming to Jesus conversation with our staff that they won't be
correct
doing that moving forward.
That's
anyone caught doing that would be written up.
That's one of the things I'll be addressing.
Okay.
The other point I want to bring up is at the last commission meeting, you asked for the price for putting the holding cell and actually moving the wall back. I got, yes, the engineering price is roughly $22,600.
For both? How much is it for each item?
No, well, it's for both of them.
Okay.
Now,
so
if that's just for the design, construction is going to be, let's say, the design is 10%. Construction is going to run you well over 200,000 if you want to move in that direction.
Well, we need a holding cell. So I mean, that's kind of like a we need a holding cell. I mean, we can't leave people sitting in cars for hours while questioning them. There needs to be a holding cell. So that's why I said, what's the price between the two? Like, okay, forget the wall. How much is the holding cell?
Okay, so then I'll get clear cut, just on the holding cell and not moving the wall.
Okay.
So I could talk to the architects about that.
Okay.
All the storm drains along Park Lane, Bryan Road, and along Park Road itself, they all have been completely cleaned. That system is completely, just to bring you guys up to speed on that. The audit, you got an update on that already. The panic hardware for all the doors and hardening that was done is going to commence tomorrow. A meeting with the police collective bargaining unit, attorneys, with the present town attorney. We had that meeting. The rest, I wouldn't be able to divulge. And internally, our P-cards policy, I pulled all the P-cards in the town. The only 3 people that has P-cards presently, and they are going to be signing for them, is the chief of police, myself, and procurement. All other P-cards were taken away, and there's a form that was created, and I'm going to start implementing that. Anything above $250 must be signed by the director. Anything over $1,000 must be approved by the town manager. And moving forward, there's going to be records or record kept in our office moving forward on that.
So like I said, we used to do bills over 500 were always presented to the commission. It wasn't something we needed to vote on, but it was something that was presented, so everybody was on the same page over what was being spent.
Right. So just based on the OIG report and what we are doing internally. And lastly, I'm looking into hazard pay for the public works employees who work in the sewer department. I'm checking to see what, I know Miramar is doing it, Miami-Dade is doing it, and a few other municipalities. So I'm looking to see what that's, I'm just looking into it. I'll bring back a report to you, moving forward.
Was the EPA contacted about the lakes?
DEP was contacted, but they are the delegation, the delegated through Broward County Environmental Department.
I just see it a little coincidental that in 7 years that I've lived here, we've never had this issue.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to do some redevelopment in the area.
And
all of a sudden, our lake's covered in dead fish.
Yeah. And I have,
Yeah,
I know Susie could bring up the pictures. It was, the minute we got the report,
I don't need to bring them up. It's fine.
I dropped everything and I started getting tested. I called the company. Everything out there was, it's bad. It was bad. So.
They did a great, I was there
The commissioner was there and.
after,
Yeah.
I saw everything.
It has
they did a
happened
great
before.
job cleaning up.
So.
About 10 years ago it happened, because a neighbor and I, we cleaned the whole lake for fish.
That's what we're trying to determine. This is so far,
Cold weather event.
Yeah. And the dissolved oxygen levels, I'm
was
talking to Broward County to get more definitive answers on, what's going on. All right.
Anything else?
Just one more thing on the volunteers for the community gardens. The county wants to find out whether there's any holidays that we're going to be closing.
Yeah, I'm putting together a calendar.
Excellent.
For that.
That's all I have.
They reached out to me as well.
Thank you.
Putting
Thanks.
a calendar together. I'll send you off as soon as I get it.
Thank you.
Is there anything?
That's it.
Okay. Do me a favor, Eileen, when they go to clean up all of that, the brushing or whatever, the fawns that fell down, does the bucket truck still work? Can they trim the dead leaves that's up there as well as over by bamboo? Because I know we haven't had
They haven't trimmed the trees in a long time. Up
Yeah. I don't think the bucket truck can get to that height. Those Washingtonians and they are expensive. I remember when I just started, we got a price to do the ones at one of the parks, and it was close to like $8,000 to do like 5 trees because of the height. And he was on contract with the town. So I could check again, but I don't think the bucket truck has the capability of reaching that height.
Okay. If not, can you look and see if we can
I'll find out if we can rent something
that can
to
reach
get it.
there,
Yeah.
or call another city and see if we can utilize theirs?
Okay.
Because I know we haven't done a deep cleaning of our trees in a long time, and I know that was one of both of y'all's complaints, both Commissioner Jacobs and Vice Mayor Morissette, for both sides of the city.
Well, also with FDOT's responsibility of their trees as well.
Okay.
That, I don't think that's been addressed.
Okay.
If anybody sees anybody spraying over there, please let us know what they're spraying. See if we can find out what they're spraying and
Yeah, it
make
looks
sure
like
they're not using the wrong.
it looked like somebody sprayed around Bamboo Lake, and because it continues to that mobile home park that is parallel with Charles Road. I presume it's them because they have done that in the past, but they sprayed also on Linear Park, which is none of their business.
They use a Roundup.
I think they used something nastier because or something very fast acting because it worked in 2-3 days.
That's not good.
Yeah. Okay. Oh.
Well, if you see them again, find out who they work for, where they're from, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Jacobs?
Yep. Last meeting, you commented that we have 700 businesses in the town. We're 1.6 miles, and we have 645 BTRs on file with the town, but we only have 313 active BTRs in the town. So we only have 313 active businesses in the town. There's no way we can have 700 businesses in this little itty bitty area, but those BTRs are existing in buildings. We had for a while, a few months, we had a new person in town doing BTRs who was terminated by the former HR director. And that position has yet to be refilled. So the BTRs need cleaned up. They were in a process of streamlining the BTR process here in the town, getting everything corrected from several years of it not being done properly. I believe the procedures have been put in place. It's just we have no one in there, and I haven't had anyone in there, I believe, since around January, roughly. It's been several months since we've had someone actually responsible for full-time for BTR. So the after the employee was terminated, wasn't replaced. And this goes along with what I was saying earlier. The town is crumbling due to lack of staff. We need to be bringing on staff. So that goes along with bringing on an HR company and getting staff here in the town on what I previously stated. Also, the Pembroke Park Community Farm, again, is open on Saturdays from 9 till 1, and it will be closed on November 4th. Calendar is coming forward, and I will provide that to Aleem and Hands on Broward.
Hands on Broward, thanks.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Hodgkins?
No.
Vice Mayor?
No.
Acting Clerk Commissioner?
Like I said before, while I'm in charge of the park, so each any of our commissioner has any direction, anything concerned about the park, please reach out to me so we can work together.
Okay.
Will do.
Okay. So I just want to give you guys two updates because I did speak to both of you guys about FPL doing this undergrounding thing. Currently, FPL is we looked into it because I don't remember having any notification. FPL is currently undergrounding in the city, and so they're sending a representative around from FPL to sign over, where they're asking the homeowners or property owners to sign over a easement for a 10 by 10 foot area in the front of people's yards versus putting the transformers in the city's right of way. I would like staff to look into it to see if because they're still not going to be taking the poles down that are in the backyards, because Comcast and AT&T are still in there. But also, I would prefer that they would put those in the right of way versus taking up people's personal property. So I would like for direct staff to look into it and see if we can get Comcast and AT&T to commit to undergrounding their utilities too, or coming off those poles, because it doesn't make sense to keep those poles there when when FPL is literally removing their stuff off of those poles, and B, the location, because making sure that there's notice that to the residents that there is someone coming around, not to, I guess, freak out over the fact that they're signing easements.
Yeah.
Because I mean, with identity theft and housing theft and everything else, it can be a little bit scary to know that somebody just shows up at your house with a legal document and they're notarizing it, saying, "Hey, we want you to sign this easement over 10 by 10 of your property is now ours."
And I believe that goes back to the franchise fees that is owed by the utility. So I'll talk to the attorneys about that.
Yeah, if I may, just one other comment, given something you just said, Madam Mayor. There's nothing currently pending that I'm aware of, but a number of municipalities within Broward County have adopted resolutions asking the legislature to take some action to compel utility companies and FP&L to remove unused and obsolete poles from the rights of way. As they go through the undergrounding process, the power lines may be removed, but the poles are often left remaining in the right of way. There's not a legal requirement, a statutory requirement currently that FP&L remove those poles. I'm aware of that. I think the city of Coral Springs and maybe Parkland.
Sunny Isles did it.
Sunny Isles. I know there are a number of municipalities that have asked the legislature to take some action. I know that Pembroke Pines had recently proposed a local bill to the legislative delegation in Broward County. The delegation did not pick up that bill, so it didn't get any traction locally, but they've since moved now towards Tallahassee to go to a bill of general circulation that would apply statewide. I don't know if that's something that the commission is interested in, but I just wanted to make the commission aware that a number of cities are addressing or trying to address that issue and asking the legislature to take some specific action to have those poles removed.
I know not all poles are owned by FP&L. Some of them are by, Bell South in the old days. And
there's also there's
and
a concept of co-location where you may have FP&L on a pole, but there could be other utility providers using that same pole.
Yeah, exactly.
So even when FP&L comes down, the pole still may be in use by...
Yeah, and they don't communicate.
Correct.
Those companies don't communicate.
But if they're obsolete and they're just, they're
then
eyesore, then, I think the legislature is being asked to compel FP&L to at least remove those poles as they go towards the trend of undergrounding the power lines. So I just want to make the commission aware. Thank you.
Yeah, with that said, my father owned property in North Miami, which is now Aventura. And we had a piece of property that had a right-of-way going down through part of it. So we had 3 houses there. And the right-of-way, when we went to sell the properties, the right-of-way became a real issue because it was tied up with all the utility companies. I mean, almost every single one of them. We had to go to court and make them actually make them do the right thing, so that we could actually finish the transactions. It was quite costly at the end.
Well, I find it to be a little problematic because there's no basically right of reversion if they choose to abandon it based on the contract. There's no time frame for the easement. There's no and it doesn't say that they can't coexist other stuff on your property and sell the front access to Comcast or to AT&T or whoever else once that easement is granted. So I'm a little concerned about that, and I think that that's something that should be a citywide issue since they're going door to door in our community, and we need to have some conversation and bring FPL to the table to have that conversation to let this commission know what's going on as well as the residents. The second thing is that I've asked Mark to look into a software called Monday, and he's getting some prices together. It's a software that basically kind of does management. It kind of keeps you on track, calendaring, but also let you know who's touching documents or timelines and who's, responsible. It kind of gives assignments and basically follows up, so to keep us more in check with compliance. So hopefully he'll have a price for us about that for the next meeting. So I just want to put that out there. And that is it for me. Also, Florida League of Cities conference is the 27th through the 29th. So I'm not sure who all is going to that. 27th through 20th, 20. I know it's that week. Yeah.
I saw the email.
Yeah.
That's in November, right?
Yeah. November. Yeah. And I think that's the same day as the workshop.
I think the workshop was scheduled for the 27th, which is a Monday.
Yeah.
So that week, I think.
We moved the workshop for that reason.
I believe
No, we
it's
moved it for Thanksgiving, not for the League of Cities.
Same difference.
Well, now we're meeting when the commission, when folks are supposed to be at the policy meeting. So,
Well, I have it on the Monday the 27th. Did I get something the wrong end of the stick?
well, it's the same time as you're supposed to be in Orlando.
Oh. No, I thought Orlando was from 29th to the 30th.
29th and 30th is Orlando.
Yeah, I believe so. That's what I noted down.
I got it right here.
Yeah, I think I have the same thing.
When it's 29 and 30.
And that's why we
I
had
got
the meeting on the
27th,
27th, right?
The FLM, I think, is the 27th.
Yeah, I think there was something else.
There's something else on the 27th too, but we can kind of address that next month if we can figure out what it was. But something I remember is the same day.
Stay home, learn how to cook.
Not me. Okay. With that, announcements, regular commission meeting Wednesday, November 8th, special magistrate meeting November 15th, workshop commission meeting November 27th. Fall festival is this Saturday from 4 to 7 at the Preserve Park. The following week is the food drive, which is Saturday, November 4th, as well as the health fair, which is Saturday, November 4th from 10 to 2. The Thanksgiving giveaway is Saturday, November 18th from 9 to 1. Please make sure that you pre-register so that we will have enough turkey and fixings for every member of the town who pre-registers. And then the toy giveaway is Thursday, December 21st from 5 to 8.
November 30th through December 1st, Orlando Hilton, Florida League Conference, Florida League of Cities Legislative Conference.
FLM, I think, is right before that, the day before, or something like that. Yeah, it's something. I got an email for something.
30th of the 1st, November 30th of the 1st is Florida League of Cities and Orlando. That's what it's showing. There's classes you can register by November 6th.
There's something. I'll find it. And
That's a good level of confusion now.
yeah, I'll find it and figure out what it was, because I know.
Wasn't there a soap that said if you're not confused after this episode, you sure will be after the next one?
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, very good.